Philippines is we have one of the highest density of users per communication tower. So in terms of all of the mobile cell sites, I think the Philippines is second last in Asia at the moment. I think Nepal is the only one that has a higher number of users per tower, which means one thing: we need to grow very, very fast. The population is growing, social media adaptation is very, very fast, data consumption is going up. We need more infrastructure, and it's our job to make sure that that happens quickly and efficiently. Next one. So our focus, having said that, is we need to roll out infrastructure fast. All of our towers are, as Suresh said, 5G ready. That's one thing. So we are ready for the next technology adaptation when that comes in whatever area that's needed. And also all of our towers that we're building, all of the towers that we acquired that we're retrofitting, are immediately ready to be shared. So also in line with the DACT's common tower policy, we will be able to host any animal on our site, which means you don't need to build 3 towers, you only build 1 tower. So A, it looks much nicer, B, it looks much cheaper for the country, it reduces the outflow because a lot of speed, etc. is important. Right? So we are doing our bit to make sure that infrastructure and telecommunication service in the Philippines is improving and improving fast. We are, and also Suresh mentioned that in terms of the energy solutions and the sustainability, we are committed to reduce carbon footprint. Okay, so we have in parts of the Philippines a very, very good power grid, but the sites need a 24/7 power. Right? There's power goes down, the site goes down. So there's a variety of solutions in terms of having backup solutions, but also having generators, especially in more remote areas. Now that obviously burns a lot of fossil fuel, etc. So what we are doing is we are introducing green solutions, doing a mix: wind, solar, more efficient battery backup systems, etc. More rapidly or quicker loading battery systems, etc. There's a variety of options. We also started doing proof of concept trials in the Philippines, and we will start rolling out the first couple of sites by next year. So we're also doing our bit for the environment. Now the next benefit is obviously reducing fuel consumption. Always good. You know, the fuel prices go up. It's becoming a scarce resource. It's becoming a scarce resource for the country as well. So in reducing the reduction of diesel consumption, having more green and efficient sites is just a benefit for us and the country. We are digitizing operations, so we are bringing a completely new approach. We do nothing else than infrastructure. That's our blood. That's what we love to do. That's the people that we have love to do that, and we are bringing in the best practice approach from the region, from ASEAN, as Suresh said, but also from basically an international perspective, bringing in different ways to operate, to monitor sites, etc., just to make it more efficient. So digitalization, already in preparation for the next step, is a key thing. Next one. Okay. So one of the questions is we have now 5 large tower companies. You know that PLDT sold some of the portfolio, Globe sold some of the portfolio. We have 5 large distinct tower infrastructure companies in the Philippines, a couple of smaller ones as well. What has set us apart from all the others? Why are we, in our opinion, better? And what is our competitive advantage? So one is we have very strong local shareholders. Okay, you can't come into the Philippines and just do business without knowing where to go, what to do. And we are very, very happy with our shareholders. They are very, very helpful in setting up, in guiding us in the right directions, etc. We do have very strong relationships with our customers, be it PLDT, be it other customers, but also with authorities and our partners, including our owners. We have very, very strong financial backing. So as Suresh mentioned earlier, we spent more than $1.5 billion investment in ASEAN so far in terms of acquiring and building sites. We have a leadership team which is extremely experienced. I'm sorry, words in a second as well. But all of our senior management team has more than 20 years, and in many cases 25 to 30 years experience in telecommunication and infrastructure.
Actually, I forgot to introduce everyone.
You want to do
introductions, right? Because so you see, we are action oriented. We just want to do stuff, right? So we don't talk about ourselves as individuals too much. So I'm Suresh. I'm I'm one of the founders of EdgePoint. I spent many years in the telco industry, nearly 20 years in telecom already. I've worked on for operators, and then I ended up in infrastructure. I was CEO of E.co for a while, and I now created EdgePoint with my investors who are a big global private equity investor, Digital Bridge, but we also have investments from a number of sovereign wealth funds like the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, and in fact also the IFC, right? And I think with IFC, for example, they're really interested not just in your mission for business, but your mission for society as well, right? So I was very pleased to get the IFC as an investor because that shows that they believe that we take both things very seriously. And Alex is our CEO for the Philippines. He just recently joined us in the team. I'll let Alex explain himself. He's done more countries than I have, believe me, right? So, which is a good thing.
Hi, so I'm Alex. I joined a bit over 6 months ago when we started, or we were approaching closure of the deal in the Philippines. Before that, I've been in Asia quite a bit, Indonesia, Thailand, Bangladesh, India, Dubai, and then a couple of years in Africa, including Nigeria, Uganda, Zimbabwe. So, although culturally Africa is very different, it's also very challenging. So I do bring a lot of hopefully solutions and best practice approaches in the managing side. Because in Africa, when you have sometimes a bit of a bad grid, in Africa you have no grid. Right? So you're already thinking of a worst case solution, so usually it's tough. And Bam, couple of questions.
Thanks, Alex. So, good morning to everyone. I'm Bam Aranya. If you're wondering, I'm Filipino.
Yeah.
So I'm CFO of EdgePoint Philippines. I joined EdgePoint this year, but I've been looking at the tower industry now for maybe the last 3 years. I was part of the first local group that went into the industry, and Suresh, his former life, was our partner. He was also one of the first foreign investors here in the country. Prior to that, I was.
So I love the Philippines. I've come twice, right?
Suresh has been investing in the Philippines since 2019. I think has been committed to the country for the past couple of years, improving the infrastructure for telecoms, which we I think need and would be a great help to everybody. So in terms of background, I've been in the infrastructure business mostly as CFO with some large conglomerates in the Philippines.
And if I can introduce you to the rest of the team, then we can go to the next slide. So we have Alex and Ben covered. Peter is our COO, so he's in charge of A, rolling out new sites, and B, operating and maintaining all of the sites that we have under our control. He has more than 25 years of experience, again, most of his life with tower companies, with E.co before, in the Philippines before a couple of years for a different company, so he's one of the guys who really knows what he's doing. Then we have Johan, he's one of our senior advisors, so one of basically my senior advisor in charge of also corporate affairs. Filipino, obviously, very well connected to the country, helping us a lot in terms of relationship building and guiding us in the right direction. We have Cyrus as head of HR, joined us from a variety of countries, not necessarily out of the tower space, but okay, Cyrus over there. And next to him, Nenyo, who also just and Peter, sorry. Peter, CEO, and next to him, Nenyo, our head of sales, who also joined us very recently, has been in the industry and in the telecommunication industry for many years and brings a lot of experience. Next slide. That was it.
So we're happy to go back to any of the previous slides if you want more explanations, or we can go into questions. You just tell us where you're from and who your question is directed to it, and we're happy to take any of the questions.
Hi, good morning. I'm Eli from Lifestyle Manila. I just like to know what's the minimum or maximum height of the tower from the ground, not the sea level. Meaning, if you put a tower.
There's a variety of different structures. I mean, you can actually put it on the ground. You can already put it on the rooftop. It goes anywhere from 3 meters to in theory 8 meters. The standard size we are talking about is in the 35 to 45 meter.
Okay.
I think when you do urban sites, which are not that prevalent yet, those are more like 20 meters for the town, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that common in the villa yet. I think it will become more common over the next 5 or 10 years. Because you can't put 40 meter, 50 meter on a roadside. There's no space anymore, right? So it's a different stuff.
Okay. Last December, we had the strongest typhoon, over 250 to 300 kilometers of windage. What's the resistance of the towers that you have right now?
We are building there is actually a wind speed map with maximum wind speeds published right by the government. We are building towards that plus in excess. So we have towers, depending on which area it is in, up to 320 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
So they are maximum typhoon strength class.
And you were mentioning you had experience with off the grid. How was your experience with our cell sites, your cell sites here in Mindanao, especially that in some certain areas you might put it in a mountain, or what's the common challenge that you have with electrical operatives?
Is your question more geared on what I think about the core, so the electrical companies, or more about the grid of the solution?
Everything, even the insurgencies.
Sure. Well, if we go to very, very much detail, I won't be able to detail. On a slightly higher level, I think on a general basis, the grid is quite good. So in many, many cases, you don't necessarily need a 24/7 generator backup. You can actually just have battery backup, for example, to cover you for a couple of hours of grid outage. But obviously, if you go to very remote sites or critical sites, which outside, which cannot go down, then you deploy a 24/7 solution, which is including a generator. And obviously, there is a couple of sites, islands, mountains, etc., where it's not so much a problem to put the system, but much make sure that the fuel goes up there. I mean, there is some mountain sites where they're just not accessible by road. You have people really having to carry it out. So you need to carry out 1,000 liters of diesel in the rain or not. It's a
So 1,000 liter, that makes you sort of like a tier 3 data center.
Yeah, put a lot of because it's 24 hours. So typically, a site will use Philippines' power consumption at a site is quite high because the operators tend to put all 3 or 4 systems on it: 2G, 3G, 4G, 5, even some 5G. So it can be, say, 15 kilowatts per hour. So 15 kilowatts per hour over 50 days can be quite a lot. But when you get these remote sites, I think what we'll try and do, I think Peter is running a project, we talk about, the first thing is it's not sustainable if you just run it on diesel 24/7. It's terrible for everyone and it's very expensive, right? So one of the things we do is we'll probably look at putting some renewables as trials next year into some of these difficult sites.
Yeah,
so that
you
at
already
least,
have the tower, you must use
correct,
the solar.
yeah. So at least 6 to 12 hours a day can be run on renewable. It could be solar, fuel cell. We have tried some wind before, but I think it's hard to retrofit wind into an existing structure. New structure, you can build some wind into it, but for old structures, I think existing, because we're taking over PLDT towers, so for those, I think it's probably solar and fuel cell, I guess. Yeah. And the ambition actually is to build some new sites next year, which we will trial here in the Philippines. We will call, with the aim to make them net zero. So we have to do a lot of calculation. To get to a net zero site, it's the design. So how little steel can you use? How little space can you use? How few truck rolls do you need to send people 30 times to put up one site, or can you do it all in one go, easy to assemble? So, and then the ongoing operations, hopefully partially through renewables as well, right? So I think that's the aim. We're going to try and design some net zero sites, but those are probably going to have to be new sites because you can't go back and change an old site. It's what it is. You can minimize the impact, but so that's the exciting thing. But you're right. It is a challenge for remote sites here for power, and you can't just rely on diesel, and you'll probably not get the grid connected for a long time. So we have to come up with a different solution.
So aside from the tower, you're also providing the call container for the servers and
Yeah, so at the moment we're talking to people about trialing, doing that as well. It's a shelter with power and so forth. So we'll probably do it in, first site we do this might be Malaysia or Indonesia first, right? But we're open to doing it in the Philippines as well.
have you tried putting up a mini stall or mini DR on your site since your servers are there already? Can you accommodate them?
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. It's no different from what we do today.
Like you said, the servers are already in your tower.
Yeah, because what is a radio equipment? Radio equipment is radio on the antenna and servers on the ground, right? The only issue, the difference between IT servers and telecom network servers is telecom network servers are very hardy. They can be outdoor and take 50 degrees Celsius heat, no problem, right? So IT servers are not built the same way, so you need to put cooling and other stuff in place, right?
So last question. Since you were talking about POV and smart, are you looking at shared tower for this one?
Yeah.
How would you consider the sharing? Would it be divided by the number of tenants or how would your principle? Because it's already supported by the government.
Yeah, no, I think day one, we got the towers from PMDT, we make them available to Globe and Depot to share straight away, right? There's no restriction on us,
So there's no
share.
exclusivity on this one.
Yeah, we just start
And you're
talking.
open to the shared cell site.
Absolutely. In fact, our business model, to get proper payback, we need 2 tenants on the site. So we take the risk that we will get the second tenant, right? But that's how it works. And therefore, I think, it's a good partnership because PLDT will look after the site, but it's our job to make sure there's a second tenant, and that's good for everyone. Right?
Sorry, last follow. How about the red tape between the permits and licenses that's happening between?
This is when the CEO says, "Hey, Alex, why don't you?" Thank you.
Because the telco say takes 26 signatories and 18 months to have one permit to have a cell site operated.
So I think the 26 permits were reduced. So there was already in line with the common cloud policy and the easement of the last government. They reduced the amount of permits you would. And
Down to
that
26. Down to 6 from 26.
so now 16.
But it depends, right?
It depends on how you, depends on where you want to build, depends on the location, are you near to the airport or not?
How much is duration?
Really, you can get permits in 2 weeks, but it can also take 6 weeks. So, yeah, permits have traditionally been a challenge in the Philippines, as we know. The Common Tower policy, the Barangyan Act 2 helped a great deal. There's still a lot of variation between where you are. I think on average it's probably between the 2 and 4 months right now, nationwide. But yeah, it greatly depends on where you are and how high you want to build. The lower, aviation, stuff like that. So it's not as bad as you think. It's got a lot better.
Is it faster to have it rural or the city?
Again, it's traditionally what we found is that northern part of the country is a little bit easier than the southern part.
That's quite diplomatic for a Dutch guy, anyway. So,
You have a
yeah.
question, Ramji? Yeah, I have a question. Right, right.
I think that
You have a
Yeah, no,
question,
that
Ramji?
one we had.
Yeah, maybe to add, we also try to develop strong relationships with the local government units to help us in our permitting process. And more importantly, what Peter said, a lot of improvement has happened because of our initiatives on permitting.
I think the only thing I would add, what I would add,
We're open to anyone, and that's what we do elsewhere. Here is still new, but in Malaysia and Indonesia, for example, even small IoT guys, they use our sites. right? So we're happy. It's just a question of commercials. We don't